Some of my mates are there at the moment.
And yeah, the colours, it just makes the colours pop out.
Yeah. Yeah, dark sand, it's kind of, everyone's like, oh, yellow sand, blonde sand. It's like, you know what? Actually, dark sand can be so dramatic.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the final day of the BFI Future Film Festival. My name's Chloe. I am the festival programmer. And it's my pleasure to introduce today's event in the frame. We've got two amazing cinematographers who are going to talk about their work. And I'm just going to hand over to Alex, who's going to be hosting today, and let them get started.
Thank you. So yes, hi, I'm Alex. So we are going to be doing a panel today. I'll be asking a couple of questions at the beginning, and then I'll be handing it over to you guys to ask as many questions as you'd like. So let's just get started, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Hi, I'm Gabby Norland.
And I'm Susie Salavati.
Great. So Gabby, where did you get started, and what does your kind of work?
I actually started as a post-production runner, which is a bit of a weird way to start. So when I first left uni, I was a post-production runner, and then I left and I was freelance as a runner on shoots, and I think that was a great thing to do because I got to look at all the different departments and do a bit of everything and see where I might fit in. So at that point I didn't really feel like I didn't necessarily feel like I could be a cinematographer, because I thought that maybe you had to be the kind of kid that had had a Super 8 camera since the age of 3 if you wanted to do that. So I kind of looked at the camera department and went, that looks really fun, and I love, taking stills, and I love framing up images, but I don't know if I could do that, but I could probably be a clapper loader. So then I went and learned to be a camera trainee and worked my way up through the camera department to being a DP. And I do all kinds of work now as a DP. I did a feature film last year. I sometimes still operate for other people, so I did a TV drama as an operator last year. I do shorts, I do music videos, commercials, corporates, I do any kind of work that there is to do, documentary stuff. And I really like doing a mixture of work. I think it keeps it varied, interesting, challenging and fun. So,
could we play Gabby's showreel, please? So this is Gabby's showreel.
it's actually just a drama reel. That's mainly, it's just drama work, I think, pretty much on there.
Mm-hmm. Great. And Susie?
So I started with film. I suppose I was at college and I studied A-level film studies, and I was also doing arts and English. And I loved doing film studies, but I was sort of desperate to do something more practical. And so when I decided I was choosing where to go to uni, I was looking at film courses. I really wanted to sort of combine making images, which is what I was doing in art, and yeah, the study of film. So I went to LCP, which is now LCC, in Elephant and Castle, and I did the BA there for 3 years. And whilst I learnt a lot about sort of camera and lighting there, and we had a great year actually. Lots of people that are still working in the film industry. We work together now, which is wonderful. And I started working as a lighting assistant in my final year at uni, and I did a little bit of camera assisting, but I sort of just was drawn towards lighting a little bit more and ended up getting more work in that field. So when I left uni, I didn't feel prepared to call myself a DOP. So I had shot a few films and I was continuing to shoot my own stuff, or DOP stuff. But yeah, I wanted more experience on set, so I started working on low budget feature films as a spark. Also got a little bit comfortable, earning money. So I think one day on set, one of the other sparks was talking to me about what I wanted to do with my future, and I said, oh, I want to be a DOP, and he said, well, it's a bit late for that now, isn't it? And I said, right, that's it. and I stopped. That was the last job I did. And luckily I had a Nokia commercial like the next week. It was ridiculous. I was like, this is all right. And then that didn't happen again for years. But I did go on to do a documentary in India, and I was away for 6 weeks, and that was wonderful because it meant that I really had that time to sort of just shoot stuff, and it was a great transition for me. And then when I got back, I felt like, okay, I can do this. But it did take some time to sort of, it was really like in terms of income, it was really a step down, and it took a while to sort of build back up.
Yeah,
and that's
I definitely had that going from focus pulling to lighting as well.
Yeah. I think I'll carry on with the questions. I'm sure
I'll just quickly say we'll have a look at your show reel.
Feeling the skin.
and start to make notes and ideas and go to the meeting. And if it's somebody I've worked with before, then I would then meet with them and then we'd start to break it down. And so when I did My Feral Heart with Jane, I should have brought my folder in actually. I've got this folder full of like notes, but we break down every scene and every character and so really go into like the motivation behind the characters, because for me that's quite important. I don't know if that's also to do with having done quite a lot of documentary. So because I try to do that in documentary as well, you try to sort of understand the person that you're filming or the subject so that you can make decisions really quickly in in a split moment. So yeah, we go through the characters, we go through each scene and sort of talk about the key part, like what you're trying to do with that scene, and then we really start to link the visuals to what the whole point of each moment is. So it's, I mean, with a feature film, obviously it's quite a long process, but and then from there I do the lighting, plans, and all that stuff. After you've done recce's, everything else. Yeah.
And I guess how much, in the end, does a lot of that prep actually transfer over? Is there a lot of times when you like kind of gets thrown out the window and you've got to improvise, or
it can do.
Yeah.
I think it's good to have it in mind that you can change things, because sometimes that's the best stuff that you get. When it's like just spur of the moment. I think it's really exciting. It is scary, but you do get some amazing stuff. I mean, for me, for lighting plans, especially when you're on a low budget, and which you're always on a lower budget, aren't you?
The budget is never what you want it to
never
be. Never. How much there is, you could always spend more.
Yeah. You could always have
Sorry
more
if there are
time.
any producers in there.
But yeah, you sort of... I've forgot my thread now. This is baby brain. Yeah, you sort of do your lighting plans.
Plan and the low budget.
Yeah, and you sort of... I try to have that in mind as a guide, so that it sort of... It gives me something to fall back on if you're really running out of time. But then once you're in the space and you see the blocking, everything can change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess a lot of the times as well, it can be quite a healthy constrictions that give you something better. Like I always think of the scene in Atonement, the one take through Dunkirk Beach. Apparently that came about because they just had one day to shoot there, so it was like, we'll just do it in one shot then, and it ends up being like one of the most amazing scenes in the film. Like, have you ever had an instant where restrictions given you something amazing?
Probably.
Yeah.
And can you think of a specific?
Well, my first thought on this is in My Feral Heart, because we didn't have much money, there's a scene in the car, which is in my show reel actually, it's the boy wiping the tears. I think had we had more money or more time, maybe we would have thought of a more elaborate way of shooting that, perhaps a low loader or whatever. And we couldn't do that, so it was just me, the actor, somebody driving the car, and the director. And I was pulling focus, and it, do you know what, it was the most enjoyable scene to shoot, because it was really intimate, really like quiet, and he gave an amazing performance, and it's one of my favourite scenes in the film. So yeah, I think the budget sort of forced that a little maybe, but it worked.
I mean,
it's a hard question.
That is a hard question. I think, well, yeah, I mean, again, the low budget thing, there was a film that I shot at the beginning of last year that isn't on my reel, but it's basically all set in a Gothic chapel. So having this one location, and it's one character, but she goes through 4 different transformations. So because it was like, wow, we're going to set a whole film in one location with one character, it kind of opened it up. And the lighting, lots of it was really limited, but that meant I was like, well, okay, but how are you going to make it? This is kind of a surreal and weird thing. It starts off in a world that seems kind of real, and then it goes. So I was like, but actually, sod it. She's going to like have alter like shell personalities through inside herself. The lighting colours can all go as mad as you want. This can be as weird and theatrical as you like.
Yeah.
Because the minute she's got a second version of herself, we're not in a real world that I understand anymore. So it gave me a license to be really like playful with colour and kind of do some stuff that, because I quite like things to look like if it's set in the real world, it should look kind of like some vestige of the real world that we recognise. So it just gave me a license to just go, wow, crazy colours, fun.
And I guess actually I might show the 7.2 clip, and then would you be happy to kind of talk through how you would go around shooting that?
Yeah, sure.
Great.
Where's Ma? Cute outfit. So where'd you stash the exam, bitch? Get up. Is that what you got, you bitch? Get up! My name is Cleo. Must be shit having a slut for a mum. Get her out of here.
So we shot that in one day, that scene. I think the whole shoot was either 4 or 5 days. So yeah, we kept the whole day for that fight and for the little bit of the scene afterwards, which you can see. And we definitely needed more time. We had 2 cameras, luckily. So one of the big influences for that scene was the director's really into Bruce Lee, so she wanted a bit of a Bruce Lee style to it. So we got the Movi rig to give us a little bit of like fluid freedom. But then I really like handheld as well, and so the second camera is handheld. And there's 3 fight scenes in that short film. The previous 2 are sort of a little bit more Bourne Identity sort of influence. So there's a bit more handheld in the other ones. So I think it actually works really well to have that combination of the fluidity and then those little moments of handheld, sort of kind of a bit more erratic movement. But we had to light the whole set so that we could move anywhere, really. So there's the 3 windows, so we've got lights rigged outside the windows, and then we changed some of the practicals in the room as well. And then there's like a sort of fill light, really, and the sun was in and out all day, as it does. But and again, the art department had to set the whole space, and we had an amazing fight coordinator as well, Terry King, who's done huge films. So we did a lot of prep for that scene. The actors and the director and the fight coordinator were rehearsing for weeks and weeks, and both of the actresses are martial arts sort of experts. So I went to a lot of the rehearsals as well to sort of choreograph really how we were going to shoot it, and it was a huge collaboration between everybody to sort of make it work in a day. I wish we'd have more time.
Always, right?
Yeah.
So I guess when you're shooting and things, how most of the time is there a lot of collaboration between the art
hours.
Yeah.
A lot.
A lot less. Yeah, when I do documentary, normally it's usually just me and the director. Sometimes you have a sound person, which is a luxury. And it's great to have a sound person actually, because it just means that you can focus more on the job, and so can the director. But in some situations that's really difficult. I've shot some documentaries which are, well, these particular ones are about women, and so access can be difficult because it's sometimes in Islamic countries or in communities which are sort of quite segregated for men and women. So the less people, the better, I suppose. But in terms of prepping for it, I guess it's the same principles. You know, you want to have sort of understanding of the story. You want to have this understanding of the subjects. But because you don't have the script there to follow. Obviously you know what the aim of the film is, but it's very likely to change on a regular basis. And so I try to get a broader understanding of the environment and culture that I'm entering. And I try to sort of preempt what problems might come up, often technical problems, because that's sometimes your job. So with Off the Grid, which I think you're going to see some at some point, it's shot on an island just off the coast of Chittagong in Bangladesh, and it's completely isolated. So there's no mains electricity. So a lot of our issues were based around power, and how to come up with solutions for light in dark spaces, but without them looking lit. Because the whole point is there's no power. So that's the story. So yes, I think it can push you creatively when you're a little bit limited, I suppose. Just being as prepared as possible, and willing to change all the time.
Maybe we could show Off the Grid then, the clip.
So you don't go out anywhere without the camera. You're present in all the meetings with all the contributors. People always go, oh, you're going away to work, it's brilliant. And you're like, yeah, it is, it's amazing, it's wonderful, but I'm going to be thinking about what I'm shooting, what the subject is, whether we can get any useful B-roll at this moment, whether there's anything good I could be shooting all the time until I come back. So yeah, you do, it's very full on and it's very intense, but it's really rewarding. But there's also, the documentary that I shot that I kind of, it was on Netflix, it's a proper documentary, My Beautiful Broken Brain. We shot all the actuality stuff over the course of the year, and then the director went off and sat with an editor and came up with these kind of visual ideas to sort of explore how we'd visually represent the feeling of having a stroke. So we went off and did all this kind of more arty stuff afterwards, which was more planned and more controlled and more kind of, was really nice and contributed a lot to the film.
And there's quite a lot of visual effects moments in that, I remember. So did you have, would you normally have such a collaboration like in the edit, all the effects with that, or is that tends to be handed off?
That was kind of weird because we went to shoot these extra bits, and the director Sophie, she was like, the editor wants you to shoot a couple of passes doing the journey Lotcha would have had after her stroke between her flat in Old Street and the Hoxton Hotel, where she ended up passing out in the toilets. And he wants you to do a couple of takes on a GoPro, and he's going to kind of overlay them and make them a bit weird. And I was like, I don't love GoPros, and it sounds a bit whack to me. Can we do that? But also, can we do? I'm going to do it with lens whacking, which probably most people know, where you just like take the lens off the camera and kind of angle it a bit. You get all these lens flares, and half the image goes soft. And it's a bit like a tilt effect. Because I was like, the thing is, half of her vision has gone all weird. So to me, that is what visually would express that thing. So I showed Sophie, I was like, let's just do a quick pass and I'll show you what I mean. So I did it, and she was like, oh yeah, I really like it. We showed it to Lotcha, and Lotcha, who's the lady who'd had a stroke, and also the co-director, and she was like, yeah, really like it, really like it. So we did it all like that, and we also did some GoPro stuff, and the editor did also some visual mixing, but the editor also loved it when he saw it. So that was a very kind of last minute on the day kind of bit of collaboration, but it worked out really well in the end. But yeah, he also, the editor was amazing and did lots of really cool visual effects stuff as well. So I think it really does capture like the kind of visual disturbance and the weirdness that happened to Lotcha really well. But there was more time for planning that after we shot the actuality. So it was kind of in two very distinct chunks.
And with pieces, say like a more promotional piece that you did for the Stanley Kubrick art, does that tend to be more, because it's so visual, is there still a collaboration, or does that tend to just be more down to the cinematography?
Well, it was actually for an art exhibition, sort of, the script came from Samantha Norton, and she was going to co-direct it, but she couldn't. I can't remember why. That was quite. They had very precise visual references already.
Yeah.
So I was brought these, and the director Douglas Hart has shot a lot of his own. He shoots a lot of Super 8, shoots a lot of 16, and he's a photographer, and he's also the bass player in Jesus. Mary Shane, he's a very amazing guy. So yeah, all his location reference pictures were gorgeous, and then we went around the wreckage, and it was like, oh, these locations are really nice, and yeah, you could just. It kind of makes it really simple. Like, yeah, I just kind of thought about how I was going to light the cinema to make it feel real that she's watching, and yet you've got enough exposure in there that she's watching 2001.
Maybe we could show it and then talk more. Great. It's quite experimental, so how would you approach a project like that?
It was quite experimental in the script.
Yeah.
So it was kind of already there. The sort of the Super 8 stuff is actually Douglas's stuff. So he created, already had that. It was very precisely storyboarded as to what the shots were, and obviously because the girl's very little and it was shot in a day and we had really limited hours, so it was a very, very fast moving day. Yeah, I mean our prep wasn't massive. We had a few discussions about boards and we recce'd all the locations and took stills that were pretty much the frames that we shot on the day. So we knew already going into each location exactly what lens we were going to shoot on. And I had a bit of a discussion with Douglas about how he wanted the lighting to obviously look very real while she was sitting in the cinema, but obviously cinema screen doesn't provide enough light. And came up with a solution that worked for that. And yeah, it was reasonably straightforward. I mean, the shot which comes into the cinema, I would have lit it a little bit more in the cinema, but then both Douglas and Sam really wanted that feeling when you come in out the outside and it's so dark you can't see anything, you've just gone into a completely black world, so they wanted it to feel like that kind of, you've gone into another dimension kind of feeling. So I think it's completely valid as a thing. To me it just looks a bit odd. But I think they're right.
Yeah, and you've all got a variety of documentary and experimental and the action and things like that. Is it good to do as a variety as a DOP, or is it kind of good to specialise, or is that just personal?
I imagine it's personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean some
shot a short film in July, which was sort of a kind of Rosemary's Baby comedy, dark sort of, and then it was totally different to what I normally do, and that was great. I loved it. And sort of like pink, and it's just like it's really nice to push yourself in different directions. But yeah, I think you're right. I think other people probably quite like to pigeonhole you a little bit.
Yeah.
And there's also lots of different formats, which I found quite interesting. Is the camera completely necessary? I mean, obviously Steven Soderbergh's new film, I think, is shot on an iPhone. So is the camera kind of necessary, or can it be a nice restriction, or is it good to invest in a good camera, or like invest in better lights, or if you've got a low budget, what's good to sort of prioritise?
I think that's a story-led question. Like, there are some stories that work really brilliantly shot on a tiny camera because of the access thing, or because of the intimacy, or because like films have been shot on iPhone and quite often they've used the fact that it's mainly wide-angle-y stuff, that in-your-face feeling. I think a lot of stories wouldn't work told, on a restricted range of lenses, and it's. Yeah, I mean, I like to try and be led in those decisions by what the story is, but yeah, I do obviously err towards wanting to shoot on cameras that are better quality.
Yeah, you want to show, you want to produce the best work you can, but sometimes shooting on an iPhone is totally right for that moment, and it adds a completely different dimension to the story. So yeah, it's whatever works for the project.
And it all has to be lit and composed, so you still have to frame it nicely and light it up.
And what are some of the obstacles you've had to sort of overcome in your career, maybe even just getting started, or when you've actually gotten started and you've been juggling things?
I think my first obstacle was money, really. Trying to earn money. When I left uni, I didn't grow up in London, so my family aren't here, so trying to pay rent and work in a freelance industry was just a nightmare. And there's really this thing in the film industry where you have to do free work as well, right? And I think that's really problematic. And I did do a lot of free work when I started out. I don't think that I should have to do that at all. But I also did waitressing and all this other stuff to try and just like get by, and it was really, really difficult to start with. And I just thought, how is this ever going to work out? And I just stuck at it. But yeah, I wish there was more support for people starting out in the industry.
I think probably the going from being a focus puller, where I was very busy, did a lot of commercials and films, and I had a lot of DPs that I worked with, and I knew production and some directors, and I thought that it wouldn't be quite such a difficult transition to being a DOP, because I felt like I knew lots of people. And whilst I think I probably knew more crew and maybe producers than I did directors, so I didn't have that firmer grounding in people that would support me in my move. So actually the transition between being a focus puller and being a DOP was really difficult. And also I think it's changed quite a lot. When I made the leap in between, we were talking about this earlier, that it wasn't so accepted. It didn't used to be so accepted that people were focus pullers, but they also did a bit of DOPing. So I started shooting stuff when I was first a clapper loader, but I never told anyone, and I kept it really secret because I thought it would tread. At that time, it would have kind of trodden on people's feet and made people a bit like, well, are you a clapper loader, or are you a focus puller, or are you a DOP? You need to make a decision. And now people are much more open about allowing that people are lighting things and also working as assistants, because it's hard to make a living as a DOP, and there's lots of people that want to be DOPs. So I made a real right, I'm not focus pulling anymore, I'm going lighting, and then it was like, oh, I have no income. So yeah, I had a very poor few years. And yeah, I mean, also the shock of earning quite a good wage as a focus puller and then earning a very, very small wage and doing a lot of badly paid and unpaid work for DOP, that was quite shocking.
Yeah, because there's something I see quite often on set, like as an AC or a gaffer, is they never quite know when to make that transition. So was it just a leap of faith, or did you kind
I was a camera assistant for a long time, and I was just, I'd been a focus puller for long enough. I felt like I'd done enough focus pulling, and I'd actually shot a short that won a lot of awards a few years before I stopped focus pulling. But at that point, I was in a situation where I couldn't really make the leap to go lighting because my partner at the time wasn't working. So I was like, oh, okay, so I'm going to carry on focus pulling. And then it got to a point where I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I'd waited like 2 or 3 years since the point where I felt ready. So yeah, so I just had to do it.
Yeah.
I left it a very long time though. I don't think anyone should need to spend 10 years as an assistant.
It's quite similar, I suppose, my experience. I was a Spark for 5 years, and I don't think I'd ever planned to do it for 5 years, but I was enjoying it, and I was learning loads, and then I got, after the struggle of not earning money to begin with as a Spark, and then starting to earn a good wage, it was quite difficult to make that choice. And as I mentioned at the start, I then had that conversation with the Spark, and I was like, well, you're not going to do it now. Well, I am going to do it now. and so I did just make a clean break, but I had been able to save some money from the commercial jobs and feature films that I've done as a Spark, so I was in a better place than I had been when I left uni. And I don't regret the 5 years that I spent as a line assistant, but I don't think I needed really to be there for 5 years. I could have done it a bit sooner. But it's, sometimes it just takes time to make that decision. Yeah.
And what would be a key piece of advice you'd give to an aspiring lead?
Don't listen too much to other people's advice. but honestly, follow what you believe, what you want to do. There's no right way or wrong way to do it. And people like to be able to put restrictions on you and tell you have to do it this way. And I think, your path is up to you.
Yeah, definitely be true to the things that you want to do. But I'd add, be kind. Be kind to your directors, because they are even more passionate, if it's possible, they're even more passionate about the project than you are, and they obviously have to sit with it through festivals, which you may not have to. They've got to live with it forever, for the life of the project. So be kind to your directors, and be kind to your crew. When it's stressful, when the shit hits the fan, don't be horrible to your crew. They're there supporting you through it all. But still be nice to them. So don't take your bad days out on other people. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. I'm going to open it up to you guys now. We've got a roaming mic, I believe. So has anyone got questions? We've got one here.
What can directors do to make your job easier or more fun, and what do they do to make it worse?
Easier and more fun. I think just being really open to having good chats in prep about what you want and how both of you see, just that conversational,
Communication.
good
is
communication,
the most important.
yeah.
Good
And
visual
also-
references are always helpful.
Good visual references are great. I love good storyboards, but I also love the freedom to find better things when you're shooting. So not being too tied to what you've drawn, because it's a drawing, it's not a shot image most of the time. The visual references thing. I want to say something about grading, because sometimes people seem a bit not aware that that's still part of the DOP's job.
Yeah.
So I think be open to your DOP coming and contributing during the grade, because we really care about that part of it. That's important.
Yeah, hugely important. It really is an extension.
Yeah.
One at the front.
Hi. I think it's actually very much linked to that question, that if you're starting a new collaboration with a director, is it a help or a hindrance if they come having kind of tried to stress test their ideas and coming in with loads of I suppose, things that might well tread on your toes as a cinematographer? Do you prefer them to just sit back and be told to begin with?
No, Well, I don't.
No, I don't at all. I love it when people have got ideas of how they want things to look.
Because then you can understand their brain a little
Yeah.
bit, and I think that's the most important thing. You don't have to stick to the visual references, hopefully. But it's great. It's a great way to start understanding the other person, and that's what takes time. So the more, the better.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I still work from a place where really, although it is a collaboration to a certain extent, but the original visual concept comes from the director, unless some directors just don't have that for their film, and then you can come up with it, which is also great. But if a director has got that, then I actually really enjoy just working out how to achieve that. So the more I can understand of where that came from, what it is, how they picture it being, then the more I can make it how they pictured it. So that's where the Stanley Kubrick exhibition thing, Douglas just knew exactly what he wanted. It made it, the colours and it was all there, and it just was like, oh, this is lovely, brilliant. I could just work it out, frame it in a gorgeous way. It's just like, it was made very straightforward for me. So, yeah, that's kind of, it's like a bonus prize.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a self-indulgent question, but you mentioned that you worked as a spark for about 5 years before you made that switch. I'm doing like a similar kind of thing, so I've been doing it for about 3.5 years. How qualified did you become?
I wasn't qualified.
You weren't qualified.
Controversial.
Well, there's always someone is.
But I was always open about that. I never pretended that I was. And the gaffer always knew that. And yeah, obviously they always had qualified electricians on their crew. So, I believe that as long as you are informed and very aware of what you can and can't do, then, and somebody on the set is qualified, then I don't really see what the problem is with that, to be honest.
And by qualified, that's like, is it iPads or?
Yeah, the electrical.
Yeah,
Yeah,
electrical.
yeah.
Yeah. A lot of my role as a spark was being on the floor, so it was communicating with the DOP and the gaffer, and sort of being on standby a lot. So a lot of that involved tweaking lights and doing lighting plans and keeping track of everything. Obviously, I did the rigging as well and all the really heavy cabling and all that stuff, but the majority of my role was on set.
Hi, how's it going? Throughout your career, do you think that there was one specific technique that you felt really enhanced your sense of style?
One specific technique. That's like your unique trademark thing.
Well, I mean, at least one technique that you think that really brought you maybe to the next level of getting even better.
I can tell you what I enjoy the most.
Perfect.
So I really like doing handheld camera work.
Damn, I was going to say that. I love doing handheld. And I actually also love that people are often quite surprised, like, that your handheld is really good as a woman. This is a bit boring, because, like, obviously it is part of the job.
Yeah.
And we've both been assistants, and no one commented when you were lugging around heavy cable. No one commented when I was holding the camera for hours as a focus puller. No one cared, and now you're actually operating, and they're like, "Oh, wow, you could do really good handheld with that big camera."
Yeah.
I love it. I love the feel of it, and the intimacy, and the responding.
The responding,
to things.
yeah,
that
definitely.
immediacy of it.
And especially with like action scenes, something where you're running around. It's like it's like the adrenaline that you have to capture that moment, which you get a lot in documentary, but you do get in fiction as well. So yeah, it's just there's so much energy in it and immediacy. So yeah, that's why.
Yeah, I love doing that.
It's also really nice to do the opposite and like stand back, be on like sort of a really wide static shot and light like a whole space, and sort of go from one to the other. It's like that's the whole range of the job, isn't it? Sort of be able to plan something so meticulously and then to be able to get something just in that moment. It's, have the contrast between the two.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure it's something good thing of like achieving quite a lot or not very much, which I'd rather that I was given the everything to play with. But I also know that if someone comes to me with a story that I really think is amazing, I really want to tell, but they haven't got much money, then I can work out ways to tell that story in a way that feels what people call cinematic, but feels appropriate to the story and feels beautiful, without it costing an absolute fortune. So, yeah, I don't know if that's entirely a virtue. I'd rather that I was constantly being given huge
money and the toys.
all the toys, but yeah. Yeah, I do like, if it's a good story, it's like, let's just make it work.
Hi, for the film in the Kubrick exhibition, how did you light the girl's face? Was it like just from the cinema? Or was
No, because it wouldn't provide enough light, just
Yeah.
the screen. Well, you can see in her eye that it's just one thing. So basically I used an actual projector, but I bounced it. So I used an actual projector with the actual film showing, so the lighting changes are all exactly as the film. So yeah, that was the cunning solution. And obviously the backlight's not a projector. The backlight on her is a light. So it's lit with backlight. Her head's got a backlight on it, although actually she was a bit low in the chair, so her hair doesn't really catch much of the projector. It's all a bit like bits of cheating because she was quite little. Yeah. One light on her face. Sneaky. Sneaky. Well, yeah, the director was talking when we recce'd. Douglas was like, oh yeah, we can have some dados with different coloured gels on, and I was like, yeah, we could do that. And then I was thinking, but it's got to feel like the colours are right for what the colours would be like, but a bit softer than 2001, and it's very specific, and there's some specific lighting changes, and so I think it works brilliantly because you actually see the exact lighting changes that have just happened on screen. So I was quite tough with that as a solution, and cheap also.
Go for it. Thanks. Have you worked with directors that don't sort of actively don't like to storyboard, and how is that different as a cinematographer?
Most of the directors I work with don't really storyboard. Like, well, they might do like a little note, but not like a proper sort of written storyboard. I mean, My Feral Heart was very, I don't want to say improvised, but changeable. Dependent upon the performance, really. So the approach to that was very much influenced by documentary, which I'm quite comfortable with. So we would light a space and literally let the action happen, and I would follow it, and we'd do as much as we could in a take, and then jump into different moments, highlight those moments or redo little bits. But yeah, there was a storyboard, as in like, so the director could get her head around coverage, I suppose. But that was just to get it clear in her head rather than as something that she referred back to. So,
yeah, I think quite a lot of people don't board stuff. Sometimes for a short film you'll get storyboards that are every single moment and like every scene, and also probably more shots than might be achievable in the time that's been scheduled. Or sometimes you'll get nothing. But I think a lot of the time the boards will change once you've seen the blocking anyway.
Yeah.
So once you put the actors in the space and see how they move in the space, you will find things that are based on the real space and the real people that aren't quite what the boards are. And I'm quite comfortable with seeing a rehearsal and working out what the coverage would be from that. And I mean, I did one of those, I did one of the 24-hour film challenges, just for 48-hour film challenges, because I'd never done one before. I was like, yeah, I'd like to shoot one of them. And then, of course, someone came to me going, oh, do you want to do one of them? And that was very much just like, right, what are they going to do? They're going to do this, right, that's how we're going to cover it here, that's fine. Yeah, and I mean, basically it'll cut, it'll be fine.
yeah.
But boards are good for if a director wants a specific moment or a specific, like, I really want to see
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
than like every single moment. It becomes quite overwhelming to kind of visually read the film in pictures, as a graphic novel, and then translate that into.
Because you want to be able to see what's happening right in front of you and take those beautiful little moments that you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
But I would say storyboards are really useful for action and anything with VFX.
Yeah.
Because when you start involving VFX, it can be really complex and
Yeah.
you
Anything
can
that's
easily miss
confusing.
stuff. Yeah. So it's really useful for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and for those moments where you're too tired to remember what your original intention was, you've got something to go and look at, and you're like, this is what we were going to do. Oh, now we understand. Yeah.
That's great.
Hi. Is it on?
Yes.
Sorry. Hi. I just want to ask, because of the nature of the industry, unlike all other industries, you know, with medicine, like you have 6 or 8 years of learning, and then you're qualified and you're done, and you're able to be considered a professional. But with this, there's so much learning that you kind of are just doing forever, especially when you start out. So I guess I wanted to ask, like, how comfortable is a set or being on set and someone being very new and learning everything? Like, how okay is that? Does that make sense?
But someone in what role?
Just anything.
Anyone.
Yeah. So just coming, like you were talking about, fresh out of university, and you're still learning a lot of things. How comfortable is a set having a person like that on it?
I mean, a lot of the stuff I started on was like music videos, for instance.
Yeah, music videos were great. But now they don't have any budget.
Yeah.
It's changed. But yeah, then they would be kind of a bit squeezed for the budget. So if you went on as a runner, you'd quite often get to do more stuff than you should be allowed to as a runner.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I used to do bits of camera assisting, bits of slating, passing up lenses, moving monitors around. Bits of sparking I did even as a runner. I did all kinds of things. Bits of helping the art department. They never liked me. I was rubbish at that. And it was really comfortable. That was a really good training. Yeah, it was a really good training ground. I mean, sometimes I hope it's changed more, but sometimes there is the sort of old school slight sexism or slight, a little bit of difficult situations. But but on the whole, it was brilliant. And I think if you go in as a runner, I think it's still the same. I've also worked with directors who I've shot quite a lot of the Random Acts First Acts short films, which are directors who are aged, actually they've all been under 20, the ones that I've worked with. And so the directors are young, not terribly experienced, but they have great ideas and they're very open to a bit of suggestion from me, and also just they're really happy to have a DP who just comes and does what their idea, works out what their idea is and makes it, helps them, frame it, light it, make it look how they'd envisage. So that's fab, and I think it's really good to work with people who are new to the industry because they've got a lot of energy and excitement for it, which reminds you, how you felt when you started. Yeah.
I think it depends on the individual as well. It depends what you're comfortable with in yourself. So when I started doing music videos and short films, I felt more comfortable being on smaller sets, I suppose, to begin with, and to get like a bit of an idea. And then I was quite happy to go on to bigger films because I understood the departments a little bit more. So I guess for me personally, I needed those smaller projects to sort of understand the etiquette a little bit, maybe. But other people might be perfectly happy to go onto a bigger film straight away. I think it's a personal choice, really.
Any other questions? One there?
So equipment and camera-wise, what would you say is sort of necessary for people that are just starting out?
So we missed the beginning of the question. can still, you know, compose and light an image beautifully on that, and if you can compose and light and expose for that correctly, in some ways, because there's less latitude, it's harder to get something really nice out of it. So yeah, and
I mean, I'd say in terms of lighting, the hire companies are really great. Like, if you go in, if you contact a hire company and tell them you're starting out and you want to come and look at the kit, I'd say most hire companies will welcome that. And so it's really worth, you know, going out and finding a range of the bigger ones, the smaller ones, and just going to check out the lighting equipment, because there's so much of it. It's nice to just be a bit more familiar with it, rather than buying any lighting, which is hugely expensive.
Crazy expensive.
Yeah.
And basically the cheaper stuff that you can get often isn't great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So probably better to. Yeah, and I mean with camera gear, the same with the camera rental companies, is if you want to learn about other cameras, they like people going in and checking out their equipment. They don't like people who don't know what they're doing hiring their equipment, because that means broken equipment. But I think that with owning stuff, there's actually sort of two schools of thoughts, because I've seen there was that thing with another female DOP saying, you know, if you buy a better camera, you'll get better jobs because you've got a better camera. I kind of am not a massive fan of that, because I think you should be employed for your skill as a DOP rather than what equipment you've shelled out for. And also, the same camera's not suitable for every job. So, I mean, you know, you might want to shoot something on a small form camera because you've got a lot of, I don't know, stuff in cars or stuff in like tiny locations, or, you know, you might have something that you actually want to shoot on something smaller for, or something that you want to shoot on something bigger for various reasons. So it's better to choose the right thing for each job, not be stuck with, I bought this, so now I have to shoot everything on this.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to have experience with all different cameras, because if you own one, and I'm not saying not to own one, you know, that's your choice. Like, I own a camera, but you will end up shooting on that camera a lot. So it's always good to have more experience.
I forgot you owned a camera.